students, and welcome back to Ringing Chimes and Telephone Lines, Part 2. I hope you enjoyed last week when we took metal utensils from our kitchen like forks and spoons and hung them from strings with the end points attached to the tragus of our ear while someone hit those. What a beautiful sound that makes. Sound is an incredible thing. How does the sound behave so differently on the strings in our tragus than it does when you hear it? Well, the answer to that might occur to you if you've ever been swimming in a pool and you try to yell underwater. It sounds very different than when you yell through the air. And the reason for that is sound traveling through water behaves differently than sound traveling through air. Water is heavier, it's denser, and because of that, it makes sounds sound differently. Well, when sound is going through a string to my ear, instead of going through air, it again sounds very differently. And you may have tried experimenting with different types of string and things like that. And you'll find that the way the sound travels through that string is different than the way that the sound travels through the air, producing a very different experience inside your head. Now, this week we're going to make cup phones. And for that, you'll need a couple of cups. I have some paper cups here. I found that plastic cups work very well, but they're a little harder to work with. You'll need some string, and you'll need 2 paper clips. Now, if you have more than that, you can make multiple sets of these phones. But what you're going to do is this. Now to begin, you can see I've cut quite a length of string. How long should you cut it? Mine is about 10 feet long. A good way to judge that, if you don't want to actually measure it exactly, is you need a piece of string that's almost as long as the room in which you want to work. So if you're working in your living room, get a piece of string that will stretch almost all the way across your living room. Then you'll need to poke a hole through the bottom of the cup. Now I'm using a tack here, and that will work, but you can also use a pencil, and the pencil is actually helpful even if you do use the tack, because you want to make the hole large enough to pass the string through. So if your pencil's very sharp, you can do this. Now, if you're working with a plastic cup, this will also work. However, one of the things that I did, and you'll want a parent to help you with this, is I simply took something hot like a nail, and after heating it up, I poked it through the cup, and I made sure to hold that nail with some pliers or something so I didn't burn my fingers. So if you're using plastic cups and you find it difficult to poke that hole, you can ask your parents or an adult to help you with that. Next, you'll pass the string through that hole, and then grab the other end and pull it through. And you want to tie it around one of your paper clips. And just a simple knot will work. If you don't have a paper clip, you can actually tie anything in there that you want to. Maybe a toothpick or something like that to hold it in there so that when you're done and you pull on this string, it stays in there. I'll do the same with the other end of the string and the other cup. There we go, and that's all you have to do. Now at this point, your cup phone is made. Now we have to test it. So let's see how we're going to do that. Now to use your cup phone, here's what you'll do. You'll hand one piece to a friend or family member to take away and place against their ear. Then you will talk into the other one. Then place this against your ear while they talk into the one that they have. And try to see if you can make the sound travel through the string. Experiment with it. So pause the video now and try that and see if you can make a way for your voice to travel into a cup, through a string, and out the other cup to your friend's ear. Now, it may or may not have worked for you, and maybe you discovered what does make it work. If you think about last week when we swung the spoon side to side, and the sound seemed to travel from ear to ear based on whether the string was tight or loose, the tension on that string, the tightness of the string matters. So if the string was loose like this, when you tried to talk, you notice the voice didn't go through. But if you guys were pulling tightly on the string, then the sound could travel through it. The string has to be tight for some reason for the sound to travel through it. So if you didn't get it to work, go back and try it again. Excellent. Hopefully that worked for you now. If it didn't, I want you to try some other things. I want you to do some experiments. I want you to hold the cup like I'm holding it while you talk to the person, and then try holding it with your fingers on the base of the cup and see if that makes a difference. For example, if one of your fingers is touching the base as opposed to not touching the base and just touching the side, does that affect the sound quality? How about how tightly we pull on the string? If there's a little bit of pressure, how does it sound? Versus when we pull more tightly on the string. Try those experiments and see what happens. Great, now I want you to try something else. I want you to try talking to your friend, and while that string is tight and you're talking, place your finger on the string. And notice what happens to the sound. Maybe even hold the string between your fingers and start talking and then let go. And notice what the sound does. So pause this now and try that experiment. Now you may remember last week when we swung that spoon side to side and it wasn't tied onto the string, we heard a sound that sounded something like Darth Vader breathing in our ears. Well, what I want you to do this time is have two people hold the string far apart, yourself and another person. You don't even have to hold it to your mouth or to your ear, just hold it far apart. And while it's far apart, I want you to scrape it with your fingernail. Listen. That's that sound, isn't it? Listen to the sound it's making. And if I loosen the string, it doesn't do it. But when I tighten the string, I get a sound coming through. What is causing that to happen? It almost sounds like static, doesn't it? But if the string is loose, it doesn't do it. So there's something about the tightness of the string, the tension is the word we used last week, that affects this. So try some experiments with your cup. All right, now I have some new challenges for you. Can you figure out a way to take 4 cups and have 4 people in on the conversation? 1 person is talking and 3 are listening. So you might have to pair up with some other family members if you're at home, or some other classmates if you're in the classroom. But can you take 2 sets of cup phones and create a conversation where 1 person talks and 3 can all hear at the same time? See if you can figure out a solution to that problem. All right, here's another fun thing to do. One of the problems with this is that something like the old telegraphs that were used back in the 1800s. You could send a message and the other person could hear it, but then they could reply and you could listen. You couldn't talk at the same time. Now, if you and I were in the room together, we could both talk at the same time. It'd be a little difficult, we'd be interrupting each other, but we could both be talking and both listening at the same time. Is there a way to do that with these cups? Because typically, I have 1 cup on my mouth while the other person listens, then they put their cup on their mouth while I listen, but we can't do both at the same time. Is there a way that we could do this to where we could both talk and both hear at the same time? So I could be talking to you while you listen, and you're talking to me, and I'm listening to you while I'm talking to you. See if you can figure out a solution to that. Now, I've mentioned before that one of the things that I like to do is experiment with something. Once I find something that's an amazing discovery, I like to try different things. Does the type of string matter? Does the length of string matter? Does how I hold the cup matter? Does a paper cup or a plastic cup work better? So those are questions that you can experiment with. Try to design the best phone that you can using the materials at hand. What's the best way to make a cup phone? Now, teachers, one of the things I've discovered through the years when you're doing science is you have to have a great way to put away materials and store them to make it easy for you. So one of the things I've found to keep these strings from getting tangled is this. When I put them away for the next year, if my students aren't taking them home, I simply put the string into one of the cups like this. And I actually have the students do this so that I don't even have to do this part of it. I show them what to do, and then they get their cups and they do this. And then you put the other cup inside and it holds that string in there and the string won't get tangled. And I can stack many sets of this together, put them in my cupboard, and next year they're ready for students. But I found most students want to take these home. So I hope that tip is helpful to you, and I hope that you'll join us next week.